The great failed romances of the 20th century. You'll never believe what they went through. The great failed romances of the 20th century, passed down through the ages and now to you.
Welcome to the great failed romances of the 20th century. I'm singer, songwriter, and historian Teddy Gray.
And I am Sam's French cousin, Sam Kaufman. Ho ho ho. In French, we buy baguettes, but your friend Sam, he is a faggot, no? Ho ho ho.
It's a French episode today. Serge Gainsbourg and Jane Birkin.
I'm going to do this voice for the whole episode. Ha ha ha.
Right, number one, no you're not. And number two, you sound like Waluigi.
Ho ho ho. Did anybody cut the cheese? Ho ho ho.
I never thought I'd say this, but please bring Sam back.
Button-pushing provocateurs have taken quite a hit over the last few years in America, but in France they're still going strong, and throughout the 20th century, there was perhaps no greater incendiary than Serge Gainsbourg.
His work is obscure outside of his home country, but in France, he remains an icon for his unparalleled career as the world's seediest, cleverest pop star.
However, throughout the 1950s and the early 1960s, he was merely one struggling songwriter out of thousands looking for a break. He was well into his 30s before he finally started achieving some pop success. An early notable break for him was when he wrote a song for the 18-year-old pop star France Gall, entitled Les Sucettes. The song was about a girl who loves to lick lollipops, and was a pretty clear double entendre for oral sex.
What? No way! I didn't realize that.
Well, you wouldn't be the only one. It wasn't until after the song became a hit that Gall realized the double meaning of what she was singing. She was reportedly mortified, and it caused a minor controversy in France, setting the stage for the rest of Serge's career.
And while we do feel bad for the young pop star, and Serge is definitely icky, it's also like, really? You didn't know it was about blowjobs? You actually thought a middle-aged Frenchman wrote a song about the joys of licking lollipops? Hey, here's another shot for you. When people do this, they're not brushing their teeth. Well, actually, that is how I brush my teeth. And how I suck dick.
That's right, it's a blue episode today, folks.
I have 30 cavities and men hate me.
Serge Gainsbourg's profile began to rise as a problematic yet talented singer-songwriter throughout the 1960s. In 1969, he was set to star in the satirical romance film Slogan. The woman chosen as the leading lady for the film was none other than 23-year-old actress Jane Birkin, a non-French speaker who had yet to become a star. The two met on set, and although initially they hated each other, after Serge invited Jane to a wild night on the town with him, their relationship quickly blossomed into a passionate romance that would hang over the two of them for the rest of their lives.
Serge was fresh out of a relationship with Brigitte Bardot, and Jane was still technically in the middle of a relationship herself. Between this and Jane not living in France nor speaking French, you would think that there were too many obstacles in the way of these two lovers. However, nothing could stop them from falling for each other. By the time the movie was completed, Jane had relocated to France and was teaching herself the language so that she could stay with Serge.
Serge Gainsbourg predated stars like Kanye West by airing out his private drama in a very public fashion, usually including it in his artwork. In 1969, he duetted with Jane on a steamy love song entitled Je t'aime moi non plus, which translates in English to I love you, me neither. The song, which originally had been written for Serge to sing with Brigitte Bardot, was notable for ending with the sound of Jane orgasming as the instrumentation swelled.
Needless to say, the song was a hit. A smash hit, if you will. However, the erotic content led to it being banned by numerous radio stations in Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. The Vatican even felt the need to denounce it at one point. Of course, this did nothing but fuel the song's popularity, and when the accompanying album of duets between Serge and Jane was released, their status as France's horniest enfant terribles was secure.
Though one must ask the question, why is it they banned this song for having Jane Birkin orgasm, and yet did nothing when Randy Newman climaxed loudly at the end of You've Got a Friend in Me? A double standard, if you ask me.
Je t'aime moi non plus was just the first in a series of provocations by Serge and Jane. Only 2 years later, Serge's classic 1971 concept album, Histoire de Melody Nelson, featured Jane posing nude on the cover, with her breast being covered by a teddy bear.
Additionally, Jane took the starring role in controversial French film May Morning, which featured a prominent rape scene. This reportedly upset Serge, who demanded to stay on set as it was filmed.
But while their artistic relationship was going swimmingly, their real-life love affair was riding the waves. Fittingly for two people with such fiery temperaments, when they fought, they did so in a big, elaborate way, and often in public. The stories of their outbursts have become as legendary as their songs, and while they would kick and claw and scream at one another, they would almost always return home happily in each other's arms.
In 1971, the couple welcomed a daughter, Charlotte Gainsbourg. She remains a notable pop star in France to this day, but at the time, she was just a baby. While Serge and Jane remained very much in the public eye, just like their relationship, their fame had its peaks and valleys.
Some of Serge's provocations pissed off more people than they entertained, such as his reggae take on the French national anthem, La Marseillaise. And we don't even need to get into the time he recorded a duet with his then 13-year-old daughter entitled Lemon Incest, which featured lines such as, "The love that we will never make is the sweetest of all." But I guess we just did.
Hey, you know the old saying, if life gives you lemons, sleep with your daughter.
It's safe to say that Serge and Jane loved each other about as much as they were capable of. But for two such sexually fluid people, that could only go so far. After years of passionate highs and thrilling lows, the two finally ended their relationship in 1980. While they were never officially married, they're still viewed in French pop culture as one of the greatest love stories of the 20th century.
And though they did eventually separate, they remained close friends. They remained in frequent contact until Serge's death in 1991, which is said to have devastated Jane and her daughters. There are reports that Jane spent 3 days with Serge's dead body, weeping over it and refusing to let him go.
Yeah, I'm sure that's all she did with it. You know, rigor mortis makes parts of the body pretty stiff. What we're saying is that she fucked the dead body.
It's just what Serge would have wanted.
To this day, Serge Gainsbourg remains largely obscure in America, perhaps being best known as the dirty old Frenchman who told Whitney Houston that he wanted to fuck her on live television.
Hey, who can blame him?
But in France, his status as a legend and a genius is secure, and his cult following grows with each passing year. Jane Birkin, who still lives to this day, has become a fashion icon, lending her name to the popular Birkin bag. And while the two accomplished so much beyond just the decade that they shared together, for many, they will be remembered most fondly as one of France's most beautiful and disgusting romances. We can't help but think that they'd be okay with that.
And now, to close us out, here is the sound of Teddy having an orgasm.
Is that what you think my songs are?
Is that not what your songs are? So, Teddy, tell us a little bit about your croissant.
I hope you choke on that and die.
I'll get right on it.
Provocateur is a song about Serge and Jane's tumultuous relationship, and how the thrill of getting a rise out of the public can be an erotic one, depending on the kind of person you are. Told from Serge's perspective, it overviews some of the singer's most famous controversies, and he continually asks Jane whether or not she's able to handle that sort of lifestyle, praying that she'll say yes. And of course, she does.
Is there an orgasm?
Maybe.
Maybe there's an orgasm. What is this, your sex life?
Oh, shut up and eat your croissant. As for the rest of you, enjoy Provocateur.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. I love you. Oh, no.
That's a wrap.
Scandal-driven from the very start. Drunk, audacious swine, passing out after too much wine. Full they're breaking down our door. Death to all provocateurs. Seems we finally pushed it too far. It's the end of me for sure. Now my head is on a platter. There's a chopping block for yours, but I'll be your provocateur.
The great failed romances of the 20th century. You'll never believe what they went through. The great failed romances of the 20th century, passed down through the ages and now to you.